Just look what they did to Tucker Carlson, who was the #1 guy on television. And whatever feathers he ruffled, whatever people he pissed off, I don't believe he's openly discussed it yet because he's probably got some sort of a lawsuit going on. They removed him because he was a problem. The way he was discussing things was a problem.
Well, it's very interesting that if we've talked about this before when we played clips about CNN talking about you and stuff, and like, but if you listen to like CNN, the way they talk about you or the way they talk about Tucker Carlson, not that you guys are in different worlds, but the way they talk about you two guys is like you're these very controversial figures who say all of these things that are not approved of, and these like very polarizing figures. But then you're like, no, he's the #1 guy in cable news, and you're the #1 guy in podcasting. Like, you guys, how are you guys viewed as controversial? But like CNN is talking to an audience of like 200,000 people and letting you know, people are very skeptical of these guys. I'm like, no, they're not. These are the most popular figures, and it's because people can at least smell that you're not bullshitting them the way these guys are.
Right.
And that was always one of the things that I really appreciated about Tucker, was that he would break with the Republican Party and have a completely different view from them. He would break with everyone else on the network, which is like, that's so unheard of today.
Yeah.
In MSNBC, if you look down the whole lineup, at CNN, if you look down the whole lineup, you cannot point to one host who has a drastically different opinion on an issue that matters than the hour before them and the hour before them.
Right.
But if you look at like, the daytime at Fox News where they were on the war in Ukraine versus where Tucker was, or where they were on lockdowns versus where Tucker was, is a night and day difference.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they removed the one interesting guy.
Well, he was kind of doing podcasting on TV. Yeah. He had gotten to the point where his show was so huge that he could kind of get away with it. And he incrementally kept ramping it up till he's like, the CIA killed Kennedy.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah, he started really going for it.
He was going for it.
That was great. People need to hear that.
Well, the beautiful thing is now he's just going for it on Twitter. And, Elon's like, okay, go ahead.
And you can see it in him that even though he was going for it on Fox, you can see the freedom he has.
Oh, yeah.
Like on Twitter, where he's like, okay, I'm not pulling any punches now.
Yeah.
And I love that. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Well, it's important. It really is. And people need to wake the fuck up.
Well, look, even like with this Trump thing, man, it's like I was saying, how so many people still believe the Russia collusion story, which was all made up, man. And you can go follow this whole thing. It was all made up, and they knew it. They knew what they were doing. There's that clip, by the way, before any of this stuff. This is before Donald Trump ever took office. Did you ever see the Chuck Schumer 6 Ways to Sunday?
You were telling me about it last night. You were saying we should watch it today.
We should play this and let me just preface it briefly to kind of set up what's so amazing about it. There are these occasional moments where, even like I said, the thing where Chris Murphy just happens to blurt out like, "Oh yeah, our policies overthrew Yanukovych," right? Like there are these moments where kind of like these rare moments of honesty from the kind of leaders of the regime.
Yeah, and
this one comes because Rachel Maddow asks him like an impromptu thing. And she says that. She leads that. Yeah. So, but this is just so you know, this is Donald Trump has been elected, but he hasn't been. He's a president-elect here. So it's after the election, but he's not president yet. So this was about him tweeting something here.
But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
So, and what happened right before that is that Rachel Maddow goes, she goes, all right, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but Donald Trump just tweeted this thing about the intelligence community. Any thoughts on that? So it's not like he was prepared for this.
Right.
The most powerful senator in America, his initial gut reaction was like, well, dude, you're taking on the intelligence. I mean, you want to go up against the CIA? You think you're going to win that fight?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to get you. And this was already after they had already been, they were spying on his campaign. They had already kind of begun framing him for this whole Russia thing, which was always nonsense. Now, it started with, the Steele dossier and all that stuff. And then they were spying on Carter Page, who was like a pretty low-level advisor in Donald Trump's campaign. And the allegation was that the Russians had offered him a huge stake in like one of their biggest energy companies if he could get Donald Trump to remove all of the sanctions that we had at the time on Russia, which on the face of it made no sense. Because he's like a low-level advisor on the campaign. Now, he's not even in the administration.
Was this based on intercepted emails?
No, this was based off the Steele dossier, which was opposition research that Hillary Clinton had funded, where she hired this British spy to go like dig up dirt on Donald Trump. And they put together this whole dossier alleging that he was he had been in bed with Russia for years. He was compromised. It was that the prostitutes were peeing on him and all this like crazy shit. And they all knew it was unverified. They all knew it was like all of it, almost all of it was ended up being disproven. But so when they went to Carter, but just to understand, like the idea of trying to bribe a low-level advisor on a campaign to then somehow take over the administration once he got it'd be like on the level of if someone was like we're going to bribe the door guy at the mothership to make sure that the Joe Rogan Experience only talks about these subjects. And you're like, I mean, even though there's a loose connection between you and the guy who works at the mothership, the idea that he would ever then be able to come in and take over the show and control it just made no sense. But we now know that the CIA told the FBI that Carter Page was a good guy, that he was a CIA informant. Then they told the FBI, they're like, no, he's not a spy. He's one of ours. So just lay off. And then the FBI lied about that on the FISA application. And this was the only guy who went down for the frame job, was this one FBI lawyer for misrepresenting what the CIA said. So basically, they said that he was approached by Russians, and that he was approached by a group of Russians to see if he would turn and work for them. And the CIA were like, yes, he was. And he came right back to us and told us about it. And then when they were putting in the application for the FISA warrant, the FBI said he was approached by these Russians and the CIA confirmed it. So they said that the CIA confirmed that he was approached by these guys, but they left out the part that the CIA said, and he came right back to us and told us about it. So that one guy was the only guy who got charged.
Did he get...
Because it was no jail time, but he did get charged.
Carter Page got charged?
No, the FBI agent the FBI lawyer who lied on the application.
Oh, interesting.
Carter Page